Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. I'm Tennessee Fats and today we're talking about Conan. But before we get into that, I have two things to say. For all my Spanish viewers out there, hola! To my Russian viewers out there, привет! See, you guys are watching, I'm noticing, thank you for tagging along. Today we're talking about Conan, as I mentioned before, and today we're talking about something that's not a Robert E. Howard Battle Royale, and it's not some sort of a series review, it's actually a Conan Omnibus review. Now this is new for us, we haven't done one of these before. We've done Kull the Conqueror Omnibuses, we've done Valiant Omnibuses, Omnibuy. Yeah, we're going to go with Omnibuy. But today is the first time we're doing a Conan Omnibus. And it's not just any Conan Omnibus, it's this Conan Omnibus. This is Conan the King. Labeled Conan the King, but actually King Conan. Yeah, I noticed the difference. We're going to go through this one today. This is an interesting one for me, and it's going to be a long one. So for those of you who are thinking this is going to be a quickie one, feel free to jump through the chapters down there. Because as you can see, I got a lot of posties on this bad boy. We're going to go through this. I'm going to give you my thoughts, and when we're all done, we're going to have a clean book, because as we're going, I'll be ripping these things off. Let's stop looking at me. Let's look at the book. And we're back. Now, as per always, and as per the chapter that's right below on this one, this is where we stick the obligatory YouTubing in this video. If you enjoy these videos, if you enjoy listening to me babble about Robert E. Howard and my long-winded explanations and ramblings, then by all means subscribe to the channel. If you like this video when it's all done, give it a thumbs up. And by all means, feel free to comment below. Trust me, those comments are a lot of fun. I really enjoy hearing from you guys. And it's a good point to this actual comment thing. Last video I put up was a review of Black Colossus, where I reviewed two different Marvel versions. Spoiler alert. But, well, actually that's an after the fact spoiler, but it doesn't matter. One of you actually commented and let me know about a different comic adaptation of that I'm now going to search out, and there will be a subsequent issue of Robert E. Howard's Battle Royales about that very topic. So comments are good. Keep it up, folks. With all that YouTubing out of the way, let's get into what we're talking about today. This is the book. Kaboom. Labeled Conan the King. This is the King Conan Omnibus. This is the first, and I imagine there will be another one. And what it does is it collects all the first 19 books of the King Conan series. Now, it's a bit weird because Conan the King on the front, all these are King Conan. I don't know if this is a copyright issue. I don't know. I don't know what the issue is here because, as you know, Marvel lost the issue for Conan over to Titan this year. So right now, they don't get the ability to use that. So maybe they can't say King Conan. Maybe Conan the King's a workaround, but yeah, who knows? That's the book we're talking about. This is a heavy one. So let's start talking about the administration around this one, which is what I do for all these Omnibuy. Omnibuy. This is a really fancy dust jacket. And I believe there were two different versions of this dust jacket that you could have got. I personally always like the more retro style dust jackets. For example, here's the Kull the Destroyer one. I went with the old school dust jacket on that one. But, you know, some people prefer the new. This is the new one. That just happens to be the one that I got. So, dust jacket, very glossy, very nice. Nice image. It's gritty. Yeah, that's a word for it. And I like the fact that on the back you get, you know, here's all the covers of all the books that are contained within this. Very nice. Now we'll take the dust jacket off because I always find dust jackets to be a pain in the ass. Get out of here, you. And here's what we got left. Just like the other books that Marvel's put out in the same series, because they also did a whole bunch of Kull books. They did 3 of them, in fact. This is what your inside looks like. Nice finish. Nice matte finish. It's soft. It's velvety to the touch. On the side, you still get kaboom. There's a nice little image of King Conan down there at the bottom. And I believe that is the symbol of his kingdom. That's what they're going for in this one. By contrast, if you were curious, let's put that down here. If you wanted to know what's on the back of the Kull, to show that this isn't just some generic Marvel thing that they stick on the back. On the back of the Kull ones, you get Kull's crown. So this is something specific. I like the blood splatter. It looks kind of neat. Nice effect there. I'll just put this aside here because we'll be coming back to this later. So we'll just put that Kull book aside for now. That's foreshadowing, by the way, in case you're curious. So nicely done. It's a very heavy book. The material inside is beautifully reproduced. Honestly, like this is high gloss. Marvel, when they produced this series of Omnibuy, again, I'm using that word, really bang up job. This stuff is beautifully rendered. If you went and bought the original comics, you're not getting anywhere even close to the level of art that you're getting. So, and I can tell you that as a fact, because when I go up to the first 4 issues of this, Conan the King issue number 1 right here. I have these books, okay? I actually bought the first, I think, 10 issues of Conan the King, or King Conan more correctly, to read, because I sat down one day and I was bored, and believe it or not, I found these in the dollar bins in good condition, which was surprising. Either way, I read them, and honestly, you're getting your pixelated art at this point in time, even though it's only from, what is this, 1980? Still, I'm finding the pixelated interior pages not that good at standing up to the years of wear and tear. So getting an omnibus like this really does a nice job for you when you're reading it, because the art is beautifully rendered and redone. You have this high gloss, just wonderful stuff to look at, and really well done. So administrative wise, yes, this is a bang up, hands down success. Well done, guys. There's your administration about the book. I've covered a lot of, well, not a lot. I've already covered 3 other omnibuy in this same sort of vein. If you want to read about or hear about my administration of what I thought of those, you can go and check out the Kull series that I did previously. Let's go through this thing chapter by chapter here. Let's get a sense of what actually happens. As I mentioned, this is 19 books, okay? So essentially, the story is broken down into a couple parts. And I want to start with a sense of what happened in the story in here, to give you a sense of what you were reading when you get it. And then what I want to do from there is talk about some of the challenges and some of the key successes that this book achieved. The challenges being the things that they really struggled with. And I think this is systemic more so of the time period that this was written in and the topic than it is of the actual character itself, okay? Let's start with that. So, chapter breakdown. I don't need to go through this in detail, but what we'll do here is we'll just get a sense of, what we'll do, we'll look at each cover. Let's just do that. Here's the cover to issue number 1, okay? So issues 1 through 4 were kind of an interesting thing, because what Marvel was doing at that point in time with Roy Thomas was they were saying, let's give Conan an antithesis. Let's give him somebody that he's fighting. And Thothamon tended to be that person. So here's the cover of issue number 1. This is the first of a 4-part series where Conan basically is chasing Thothamon with his son, Con, to the ends of the earth. Basically to just finish him off and slaughter him and say, I've had enough of you. Thothamon doing everything he can along the way to try to kill Conan and end his royal line. And the funny part about this is Conan brought his son Con along just because he said, you know what, this will be a good learning experience for you, so you come with us. At the end of the day, this is, they are correct here, Conan versus Thothamon to the death. That is actually what happened. Conan kills Thothamon. I think that was sort of a foregone conclusion. You have 19 issues of a series called King Conan, and you're on issue 4 and you have a battle to the death. So that's what happens in your first 4 issues. The next 5 issues after that, now this is where things, this particular little sub-story in here really got wonky on me. And it got wonky on me because this is an adaptation of a non-Robert E. Howard Conan story. And in the editorial write-up at the front that Roy Thomas does, he talks about this particular story that was being redone for comics. And the whole thing is being prefaced as a story to Conan on their way home from basically the ends of the earth where they just killed Thothamon. And it's a story of how Conan's wife, Zenobia, gets kidnapped, and Conan has to go out and rescue her. And you end up with effectively what is a 4-part story that is an adaptation of that book. And I think the issue here was more so the source material than anything else. I do believe that when this particular story was written, and I think Roy Thomas actually alluded to this in his editorial stuff up front, this is issue 6, by the way, he spoke to the fact that he wasn't really a fan of, some, when, at least looking back on it, how some of the source material was used. For example, there's a part of time in here where Conan literally prays to Crom for guidance, and guidance and assistance is what Crom gives him, which doesn't make any sense. It doesn't fit. There are other smaller aspects into this that I'm going to talk to a little bit later. But again, it leaves you with a sense of, well, did you really get the character when you were writing this? Do you really get what you're writing here? And I think the question of did you get the character is a key one. And I think that key point is something that we're going to be coming back to here a couple times. We'll allude to it a little later, but at the end of the day, Conan goes in here in issue 8, reclaims his queen, rescues her, and brings her on home, and everything's fine. But again, I'm talking to the fact that the story just sort of went awry. And I'm going to come back to really what this story was, because this is one of the things that I'm going to identify as a challenge later. Issue 9. Again, another reason why I'm showing you these actual covers as we're going is so you can see the artwork as we're going through. There was Buscema art as we're going through, and another thing that happens within this, which is kind of important, is that you actually have a young Silvestri starting work. Ernie Chan. This is a beautifully done book here. The art throughout on the inside is all Ernie Chan, except for one really egregious page that just hurt to look at. I'll actually show it to you here. More so because it's just physically impossible and makes you scream and go, "Are you kidding me?" But it was a plot device, and it was necessary. Is that, like, I don't know. Conan rips the tooth out of a dinosaur and then diving off somehow manages to plunge it into the chest of the dinosaur and kill the dinosaur. It's just stupid. Just stupid. Anyways, again, Bill Sienkiewicz cover right there. That's nice. Can't argue with that. Another interesting story there that has another little side effect on it. It's kind of there, but this is basically a whole story where they introduce a dark side-like demon to fight Conan. That was kind of weird. I don't know why you would bring in dark side. You would think Conan has enough problems of his own. In this particular issue, this is part of a series wherein it's a 4-part story wherein Conan is trying to solve an issue of why are people constantly scheming against me in my own kingdom. And this is the culmination of that story where he goes out to fight the 3 wizards who had organized all of the schemes against him in his own kingdom. Interesting one in that you have Mark Silvestri, as I mentioned earlier. Conan, I don't know if you know this, is the creator of the glider. History's creator of the glider. Wonderful, wonderful work there. Obviously, the man is a genius well beyond his times. And this is the issue wherein he finds out why these people are constantly scheming against him, because this demon has created a sense of super magnetism in the mountains to the south of his kingdom, which is why wizards are always after him. So he thus destroys these sorts of super magnetism. Start to get into some other interesting art as this goes on, because what happens at this point in time is your many issue stories end. And you start to get one-offs. This is, for example, a one-off wherein Conan is slumming it, pretending he's out here running around with a beard, and goes on an adventure to loot a grave, being misguided by another individual. Beautiful cover. That one just stands out to me. It's just gorgeous. Mark Silvestri. This one, obviously, Marvel liked enough because they stuck it up here in the frontispiece. Check that out. Very cool. And this is what, 1982? 1982. Beautiful work. Interior work. There are parts of it that sort of make you grimace. But, again, you can only work with what you got when you're just reproducing the book. John Buscema work again. This is a nice one. A one-off story wherein Conan goes off to help basically a orphaned queen reclaim her kingdom, and basically does all the work for her by himself to put her back on the throne. This particular cover we're going to come back to later, so I'm going to leave this post-it note on, but this is one where Conan's going home and he starts to go on to a rant and rave about how he hates slavery and makes sure that he kills a slaver for basically taking a part in slavery, and also for killing his favorite white horse. And a Mike Kaluta cover, or Kaluta cover more correctly. This one, just damn. Just damn. I'm going to leave this post-it note in as well, because this is another one that we're going to come back to shortly. So the series basically is Conan kills Thothamon, first bunch of issues. Conan goes off on a mission to rescue his queen, which is an adaptation of a novel. One-offs wherein the character of Khan, or Conan II, is further developed and learns some valuable lessons in life. Conan goes off to deal with the issue that he constantly has assassins trying to kill him, and it's being guided by wizards, and solves that problem. And then effectively you have 2 final one-off stories to it. Is there an overarching theme that carries throughout this? No. And you can't expect that in 19 issues that are spread over 3 years that there would be. These are going to be a series of small stories. So this does all right in that you're getting all of that at once. Do you need to read all of these stories to really understand what's going on? I would argue the one-offs within this probably didn't need to happen. Developing the character of Khan is kind of interesting. And developing the character of Khan is interesting because what happens at the end of this is issue 19 is where this ends. Issue 20 is, I believe, a pivotal story in which the prince is dead. I have always seen ads for this story wherein the prince is dead. And you know, the dumb part about this is young teenage Tennessee fans actually had that book. I bought that years after it came out. I had it in my collection. I never read the blasted thing. And now as an adult, I'm sitting here thinking, okay, you idiot. This clearly was one of the most pivotal stories that Marvel was putting out about King Conan. You had it and you never read it. So now I get to wait for the second one of these Omnibuy to come out. Omnibuy, saying it again, to come out so that I can get to part 20, whereas we're now going to be dealing with a story that, by my understanding, heavily involves the prince. And the only prince that we've been talking about here is Khan, so I'm assuming it's Khan. But I've never read it. I don't know. We'll have to get there. Let's talk a bit about some of the things that were kind of weird in this and some of the things that really stuck out. You'll remember the story that I mentioned earlier that was a weird one. Was that story which is not a Robert E. Howard story. It is an adaptation, or it's a development of the character after the fact. And it's a story wherein Zenobia is kidnapped, and then Conan goes on a quest to save her. It's a 4-issue story wherein effectively the plot of the evil wizard that has kidnapped Zenobia is that it's to draw Conan out and make him travel all the way across the earth so that he'll get killed by his enemies on the route. Like, that's it. That's... I'm sorry, but as far as plots go, that's stupid. You're a master wizard, you can conjure demons, you can kidnap a woman from halfway around the world, yet this is your plan. That's just dumb. Did they really know the character and the supporting characters? I'm sorry, praying to Crom and literally Conan coming to in a vision in a, I'm guessing is a Viking longhouse. And Crom says, you know, you've always sworn by me, but you never prayed to me, but I'm going to cover your ass on this one because you carried my name all over. Come on. Come on. If you read the 2019 series wherein it's Conan dies and then literally runs into Crom, and the only way, and the interaction between Conan and Crom is exactly what you would have pictured the interaction between Conan and Crom to be. That was bang on. This... just, that story was just ouch. And this is where it sort of turns a bit to the point where you're saying, well, what is my real issue with this? And do we actually get who King Conan is? And I think that's probably the biggest challenge for this book. Okay. We've covered the administration. We've covered the art that's in here and the covers that you've seen. I'm going to come back to 2 of these in a minute because we have to. And really, we need to get to what I think the biggest challenge is that screams throughout this book, which is, who is King Conan? Now, full disclosure here, I have already read every single King Kull book comic that Marvel has produced. I've reviewed them. You guys have heard my comments on it. It's done, okay? I have said bluntly, I prefer King Kull to King Conan, just based on the first 10 issues of this that I had read previously and all the Kull that I've read. I honestly believe, and if you read the editorial comments up front and within this story, because this is a complete reprint, it gives you all the comments that have been made by the editors, even back when this was being written in the early 80s. I don't think anybody really had a sense of who King Conan is. There's a comment in here where I believe it's Roy Thomas, and he makes the comment, and he says, listen, Kull is a muller. I'm paraphrasing. He's a thinker, he's brooding, he's moody about things, he contemplates what's happening and what should be done. Whereas, and the analogy is literally made, Conan is rather stupid. He just brashly bursts through things and gets things done. And then there's Red Sonja, who's an entirely different character to both of these. And it talks to the 3 of them. But it really does make that comment. Kull being this, okay, brooding, intelligent, greater thinker sort of king, and Conan being this brutish, I'm just going to slam through everything and get it done. And I think that sense of he's just a brutish, get things done kind of guy really tainted what the character of Conan is. Because there are massive parts of this where he behaves literally like a 20-year-old. He's not behaving like the 60-year-old that he is when he's the king. Honestly, and it gets to the point where you step back, and if you finish reading this, you realize that Conan's real superpower is the ability to fight off, what it was I was thinking about this, Gonosyphoherperia, that was what it was, yes, Gonosyphoherperia, there you go, I said it. I'm going to make a whole chapter about this at the bottom here, Gonosyphoherperia. Literally the fact that Conan has survived all the shtupping that he has survived in his entire life, and the fact that he continues to take part in all the shtupping here when he's got a queen, and that he isn't carrying off massive STDs that have killed him, I think it really is his superpower. And the fact that it's in here where he's shtupping really speaks to the fact that they didn't get who he was when they were writing the majority of these stories. So, for example, he's off literally on the very same adventure where he's rescuing his queen. He has literally dropped the kingdom that he fought so hard to get and said, F everything. I'm getting on a horse and going to rescue my queen. And he runs into, what is it, Yasmina? Yeah, Yasmina. This is the lady that was in, the Black Circle, People of the Black Circle, who at the time had zero interest in stooping with Conan whatsoever. None whatsoever. And magically she calls him to her chambers as he's traveling through town. And basically the two of them just stoop. And of course there's a assassination attempt on Yasmina. And I think this is speaking to the fact they really didn't get who Yasmina was as well, because this is not what she would have done. And they solve this, their bodies all over the floor, and they say, you know what, let's just have sex again while we're here with the bodies on the floor, because we still have hours before daylight and you have to leave. Even though he's saying, no, I'm clearly married, lady, you need to know that, but it's okay, we'll just continue to have sex. I don't know. To me, the fact the guy fought so hard for his kingdom, more correctly, kingship, built the kingdom, has a wife, married to her, has a kid, Khan's what, like 16 or something like that, and he goes off on an adventure, and along the way, now, granted, in here, you could make an argument that maybe he felt like if he didn't sleep with this princess, that he wouldn't have been allowed to leave the kingdom, and maybe he was in trouble. Maybe he did this under duress. Yeah, okay, all right, I'm going to give you that, okay? I'm going to give you that. Maybe you think that. Well, how is it 2 issues later, he literally makes his way into the Eastern Kingdoms where people are, I don't know what they were thinking when they used this tint of skin color. We're not even going to comment on that here. But he rescues this, basically, like, village girl, and decides, you know what, since we're heading along the way, let's just have sex again. You're literally rescuing your queen. You're literally infecting yourself with gonorrhea herperia on the way to rescuing your queen so that you can get, I don't know. It's just one of these things where, like, are you freaking kidding me? And you would think, oh, well, maybe it was just this one story, Tennessee Fats. Maybe it's just this one writer that really didn't get it, and the comics just sort of threw it in there. Well, yeah, okay, hold on. Let's just go over here, shall we? So this is much later, a one-off story wherein Conan has a prophecy told that the Death Shaper is going to kill him, and ooh, it's dangerous, and don't go out there and try to solve this problem of why people are trying to kill you. Well, he goes off on his own anyways and runs into this lady here who has her panther cats, who you later find out has been alive for thousands of years. Who basically looks like, I don't know, almost like a weird Twiggy-like version of Mary Jane. I don't understand that with, like, I don't know, a Morticia Adams dress and a crazy spider or bat tattoo. And he says, you know what, I'm just going to sleep with you now. I don't know. I honestly don't know. It seems to me like really the character was getting mired at this point in time. And perhaps this was because Marvel was trying to do what I'm going to say here, is they were trying to draw a divide between who is King Conan and who is King Kull. They were both being published at the same time. Marvel was in a very difficult position because they had two characters that are very similar. They're both barbarian kings, and they both have comic series that are ongoing. Well, how do we differentiate them? Perhaps the stooping was a work around that, because Kull wasn't out there stooping. That clearly was in the character. It just wasn't happening. And, you know, maybe they wanted to say, listen, this guy can just have sex with whoever he wants, and there's no ramifications whatsoever. Even though he's got a queen, she's okay with that. I don't know. I don't know. It seemed to me that the strong female lead character of Zenobia would, in theory, have an issue with this. And I think that is just a symptom to the fact of, well, maybe we didn't really know the character all that well. And you know, later I've read other King Conan comics, more recent ones, which I think were bang on. I think they got the character down pat. But here I think they were struggling with, well, who is the character? And I think that really, when you're reading these, it pulls this, it pulls it aside. And speaking to that point I made earlier of, well, maybe they were just going through the process of really trying to differentiate between Conan and Kull. I believe that was the case. And I think that this really highlights it right here. And I said we would come back to this cover for a reason. This is a Mary Severin cover. Mary Severin, for those of you who don't know, did a whole bunch of Kull stuff. And this cover, if you were to look at this cover, okay, forget this. Who is that? I asked a question, who is it? Raise your hands. That looks pretty much like Kull the Conqueror to me. That is so bang on Kull the Conqueror. I don't know how that could be more Kull the Conqueror. That is Kull. I don't know, and it's funny, you know, I looked at this image, and I then went and I thought to myself, oh, hold on, maybe Marvel was just reusing a cover that she'd already created, because they do that from time to time. And I went through all the Kull books that I had at the same time, and I was looking at the stories that were being published at the same time, because I thought, well, it would have been sometime contemporaneous to when this was published, which was near the end of 1983. I couldn't find anything, so I don't understand where this particular piece of art came from. Allegorically, you could argue that these hands here grabbing at the protagonist, who we'll assume here is Conan, even though we know it's Kull, do loosely fit into this particular story in which he's fighting a slaver who treats his slaves poorly. I'd argue it probably doesn't. I think it's a bit of a stretch, and I think we were just trying to fill a cover. But literally, it's a beautiful cover. Damn, I think this is one of the strongest pieces in the book. But I actually think it belongs to a different book. Were we struggling really with Kull at this point in time? Well, let's go to the final evidence here. Okay, King Conan. Okay, this story, King Conan's beautiful wife Zenobia has been kidnapped by pirates. The pirates have her. They run off with her. King Conan is fraught with grief, and just like in that earlier story where she was kidnapped by a flying man-beast and carried over to Asia, where the plot was to drag him out so he'd be murdered by his own enemies en route, Conan says, F everything, get me a boat, I'm going to go and slaughter these buggers. He literally gets on his horse, rides down, commandeers a ship with just a group of chorus soldiers, and then parries off to go and slaughter these pirates. And at the end of the day, he does exactly that. He slaughters the pirates of complete lack of diplomacy and no negotiation happening whatsoever. And there's a subplot in here where there's one particular pirate that, you know, starts to build a bit of a relationship with Zenobia, and then Conan just slaughters him because, you know, he's Conan. And quite frankly, put this group of people have kidnapped his wife. Okay, so Conan riding off into the sunset. I'm very angry. I'm going to go kill some pirates. Okay, all right. This is what, September, November, December 1983? Right. All right, hold on. Hold up. Okay, Kull the Conqueror. Number 3. Dead Men of the Deep, you say. This one has a bit of a twist to it, okay? Let's just start with what this story is. A bunch of Kull's basically top advisors who have been traveling down near the coast, similar to what Zenobia was doing here, have been kidnapped by pirates. And Kull says, oh, to hell with this. That's not happening. I'm going to go and commandeer a boat and head out there and, you know, kick the crap out of people. I might speak to his ears directly. Yeah, I'm going to just go do that myself. And heads out there. Now, what happens in this is there's a bit of a twist here in that they go out and they end up running into, well, basically undead monster things that are very stinky, who the pirates also have to deal with. And at the end of the day, through a giant battle and fight in which a whole bunch of pirates die and some magical things happen to try to stop Kull, well, he rescues his people and slaughters all the pirates. So, December 1983, and this was what, November 1983. I don't know, it seems to me like that's a bit of a challenge. You've got two characters here, barbarian kings. You got Conan riding off, doing F this, I'm going to go kill some pirates, and literally the very next month, Kull the Conqueror, F this, I'm going to go kill some pirates. I don't know. I think Marvel was struggling. This is a very difficult position for them to be in, but I do believe that was the case. And I think that if you are a well-versed reader in Kull, when you're reading this, you're going to be looking at the similarities going, oh, wait, who had that first? What happened there? I don't quite understand. If you're just a King Conan reader and you're not big into all the other Robert E. Howard stuff, this is perfect for you. You're really going to enjoy this. There's a lot of really cool stories to it. So, I don't know. I do think that was the challenge. They were having a hard time. And, you know, the fact that Roy Thomas in his very intro ends it off with a Kull the Conqueror thing saying, you know, maybe if I had the all-seeing mirrors of Thuzen's Thune, maybe I'd know the answer to this question. I don't know. It just seems to me like we were struggling on this one. What do I think of it overall? Well, you know, it's the first 19 issues. There are a couple arching stories in this that I thought were okay. The one story that I thought really hurt the book when you were reading it was that one where he goes off to rescue Zenobia. Honestly, if you just took that out, I think the rest of the story would have gone really well. The one-off stories are fine. Fighting and killing wizards that are plotting against your kingdom. Gee, that sounds just like King Conan to me. Also fine. And it's a great reproduction. Honestly, reading this book, reading this, and sitting down and having a whole bunch of King Conan to read, I think is a fantastic experience. I think you'll really enjoy it. And I honestly think that if you're out there and you're just your average reader of Conan, and you're just saying, gee, I want to know what Conan the King, as opposed to King Conan, is like, then you're really going to enjoy this. 90% of readers are going to be happy with this. For the 10% of readers that are picky like me, that are already leaning more on the Kull side of the fence, I don't know, this just seemed like too much blurring the lines, and it just created character confusion for me, but maybe that's just because I'm stupid, I don't know. Anyways, I am looking forward to Volume 2 of this. I am looking forward to reading The Prince is Dead story. I have been waiting for quite some time, and I don't know why I can never find the blasted issues when I'm out shopping around, so I can't actually buy them and read them, so I guess I'm waiting until number 2 of this comes out, and I will buy it, despite of the whole character confusion, because I know, based on everything that I've read about that story, it's really, really good. Here's hoping that doesn't disappoint me. Anyways, everybody, I hope you enjoyed this one. I know it was a long, rambling one, but as you know in my videos, every story is a long, rambling one. That's what makes this whole thing wonderful, because I can sit here and ramble just like the Red Fisher Show back on TV in Ontario in the 1980s, and that's a deep cut. If any of you got that, I am damn impressed. But we got there. We got to the end. Our next video, what are we going to do in our next one? That's a good question. You know, I'm thinking, well, I don't know if I'm going to get my hands on some of Dark Horse issues that I desperately need to finish off some of the Battle Royales. But we might end up doing something Kull and Conan related. Leave that one with me. Everybody, I hope you enjoyed this one. As always, we'll see you in the next one.